Okay, so you ready for this?
Always ready for a deep dive. Let's do it.
Perfect, because today we're going deep on Brené Brown's Dare to Lead.
Love this book.
Right, it's amazing. We're going to break down all the good stuff and make it really clear how to actually use this stuff in our lives.
Sounds good to me.
Because trust me, there's a lot to get into.
There is. Where should we even start?
One of the things that really got me was her whole take on vulnerability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's not what you'd expect from a leadership book.
Definitely not. I mean, usually we think of vulnerability as like a weakness, right? Especially when we talk about leadership.
You're supposed to be strong and confident, the one with all the answers, right?
Exactly. But Brown argues that it's actually the opposite. Like it's a strength. She says it's actually the foundation of courage.
It is. It's pretty counterintuitive. But it makes sense when you think about it.
I mean, how does that even work? How is vulnerability a strength?
Well, think about it this way. When we let ourselves be vulnerable, when we're real, we connect with people on a much deeper level.
Yeah, I get that.
Like when someone's willing to admit they don't have all the answers, that they're struggling with something.
It makes them seem more human.
Exactly. More relatable. And we instantly feel safer, more willing to open up ourselves.
So it builds trust.
Exactly. And that's where the good stuff happens, right?
The magic.
The magic. Innovation, creativity, real collaboration, all that.
Okay, so I'm with you so far. But there's a difference between healthy vulnerability and, just like oversharing.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. I mean, Brown isn't saying we should just spill our guts to anyone who listen. It's about being intentional, right? Like choosing those moments where it makes a difference.
So when is it a good idea to be vulnerable?
Well, she talks about this idea of rumbling with vulnerability, those tough conversations we usually try to avoid.
Oh, I know those. The ones you kind of just want to run away from.
Totally.
Yeah.
But those conversations, those are the ones where real growth happens.
So what's an example?
Okay, like imagine you need to give critical feedback to a teammate, but you're worried about hurting their feelings. Or maybe you have to admit you messed up, made a mistake.
Yeah.
Those are tough.
Those are the times when vulnerability can be super powerful. Because it's not just about you, right?
It affects everyone.
It can change the whole dynamic, both for you and the people around you.
And build trust, like we were talking about.
Exactly. Speaking of trust, Brown has this whole thing, this braving acronym that's really helpful.
Yeah. It's a really good one, a really practical tool. Can we break that down?
Yeah, let's do it. So braving, it's basically a checklist for what builds trust. You can use it with yourself, with other people. It works across the board. And each letter stands for a key element. So we've got boundaries,
Okay.
reliability,
Okay.
accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. So it's like BRAVING.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. So how about we try to apply it? Like, let's say you're starting to work with someone new and want to build trust with them. Where would we start?
Okay, sure. So let's say boundaries, right? That's the B. Boundaries are all about respecting limits. Yours and the other person's. It's like being really clear about what you can and cannot do and being okay with saying no.
I see.
And then the next one, reliability. That's a big one too. That's about, walking the walk.
We're just talking the talk.
Right. Being dependable, following through on what you say you'll do.
It's the little things, right?
Exactly. And over time, those little things, they really add up. They build a solid foundation, a foundation of trust, I mean.
Makes sense. So, okay, we've got vulnerability, trust. Brown also talks about resilience, which feels like something we all need right now.
It's huge, especially nowadays, right, with everything going on. And Brown, she really emphasizes bouncing back from setbacks. And this is a big one, she says, to think of failure as a learning opportunity.
It's not the end of the world.
Right. And she talks about this idea of normalizing struggle.
Normalizing struggle.
Yeah, like it's okay to admit that things are hard, that you're not perfect, and that's fine. Everyone struggles sometimes.
Because we all see these perfect lives on social media and stuff, but that's not real.
Exactly. No one's life is perfect. So the more we can acknowledge that, the better.
It takes the pressure off.
For sure. And it helps us be more resilient.
So how can someone build up that resilience? That ability to keep going when things get rough?
It's all about developing a growth mindset. The belief that you can learn and grow from anything.
Even your mistakes.
Especially your mistakes. It's about focusing on progress, not perfection. And when you can start seeing challenges as opportunities,
You learn and get better.
you learn and you grow. And failure, well, it loses its power over you. It's not the end of the world anymore.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I wanted to shift gears a little bit because Brown also talks about belonging,
Yes, belonging is a huge part of her work.
especially in the workplace, right? Creating a space where everyone feels like they belong.
Right. And she makes this point that when people feel like they belong, when they feel like they can be themselves,
They do better work.
they do their best work, they're more engaged, they're happier, it benefits everyone.
So how do we create that kind of space?
Well, part of it is recognizing what she calls armor, those defenses we put up to protect ourselves from vulnerability.
Oh, yeah, the armor.
It might look like perfectionism or people-pleasing or even cynicism. It's basically anything we do to avoid showing up authentically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the problem is when everyone's in their armor, we can't really connect with each other.
So how do we create that sense of safety where people feel like they can let their guard down?
It starts with leadership.
Leaders set the tone.
Exactly. When leaders are vulnerable, authentic, when they model trust, well, that creates a ripple effect.
It spreads through the organization.
Exactly. So it's about open communication, valuing everyone's perspective, and celebrating the contributions of each individual.
You know, so much of what Brown talks about just seems kind of counterintuitive at first,
It does.
but it also just makes sense, you know? It's about leading with empathy and courage and really believing in the power of connection, human connection.
It's a powerful message for sure. And what's really cool, I think, is that it applies to more than just the workplace.
It's about life.
It is. These principles, vulnerability, trust, resilience, they're important for all kinds of relationships, parenting, friendships, you name it.
Yeah, that makes you think, what if we all brought that same level of courage and authenticity to every part of our lives?
Right. That would be something.
It really would. It's something I'm definitely going to be thinking about. Thanks for diving deep with me today.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks to all of you for listening. Keep daring to lead out there. We'll see you next time.